Mrs. De Silva,
Here.
Mrs. Gillis,
Here.
Mrs. Messick,
Here.
Mr. Valentine,
Here.
and Mrs. Rigby.
Here. For our Pledge of Allegiance this evening, we have Principal Pete Curdy and students from Glacier Ridge Elementary.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pete Curdy. I'm the principal of Glacier Ridge Elementary School. I'm joined this evening by Lisa Ora, the admin intern, as well as the student principal leadership students and their families. Thank you very much for having us to recite and lead the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Again, I would like to, in a moment, turn it over to our student principal leaders who are going to talk about what they have done this school year. They're responsible for implementing initiatives about leading and making Glacier Ridge a better place for students. They'll introduce themselves, they'll talk a little bit about what we have implemented this year, and they'll talk about how Glacier Ridge has made an impact on them. So.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for having us here this evening to read the Pledge of Allegiance. It is an honor because Dublin City Schools have already had an impact on who I am and what I want to become. We want to share a little bit about who we are and how our school is having an influence on us. My name is Bo. The biggest impact it is having on us is helping me more confident when I talk and connect to people and more confident in general. My name is Sim. The biggest impact has been me over myself and doing what people might not know. It has given me the confidence to be who I am.
My name is Jenya. The biggest impact has been that I'm happier and I have learned to be selfless. Also, I gained many new friends over the years that I know will last a long time.
My name is Anya. The biggest impact is that I've learned many new things and done things that I thought I would never do. I had a lot of new and exciting experiences at GRE.
My name is Adeline. The biggest impact GRE had on me is I learned to be a better person and I've had so many great learning experiences.
My name is Shravya. The biggest impact has been that it developed my leadership skills and it helped me be a better person. It also pushed me to do things that I didn't think I could do and taught me a lot of life lessons.
We are from the Principal Student Leadership Team. As part of the larger student leadership team, our job has been to work with Dr. Curdy and Ms. Orm to develop and use our leadership skills to make GRE a better place for kids. We even wrote this script together.
Our most recent task has been to create PAX posters to put around the building, telling students about voice levels, what to do with their hands and feet, common expectations, how to be kind and empathetic, and what they can do to make it a positive school environment. Our school has implemented PAX this year. PAX is a Latin word for peace. It promotes peace, productivity, health, and happiness. PAX is a research-based program that teaches students self-regulation skills. It helps us monitor our own behavior so that we can be successful in school and in our own lives.
We hope that PLEX will make our school a better place to learn, grow, and live together as a school community. It already has a huge impact on GRE and our experience in and out of the classroom.
PAX goes well with our school motto, Choose Kind. We understand how we act is a choice and we can choose to be kind and empathetic to others. Through PAX and Choose Kind, we want everyone to feel included and joy at GRE.
Thank you again for allowing us to lead the pledge. Even more, thank you for allowing us to share how we are able to use our skills to make a difference at GRE and for others. Together, we have the ability to create a positive impact through teamwork, kindness, and determination. By working together, we inspire each other to work harder and reach our goals and help others along the way. At this time, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is recommended that the board approve the March 10th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Valentine. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Gillis. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mrs. Gillis?
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mrs. Messick?
Yes.
And Mrs. Rigby?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Motion to approve this evening's agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Messick. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mrs. Messick?
Yes.
Mrs. Gillis?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
And Mrs. Rigby?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Awards and recognitions.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, for tonight's Golden Shamrock Award, the Golden Shamrock Award, which started in 1990, was founded by Ed Putnacki, an active community member in Dublin, as well as business owner. This award was created to recognize staff members in our district who have made outstanding contributions and have had a significant impact through the work they do each and every day. Tonight, we have 2 award winners, and at this time, I'd like to ask Tom Cochran to come to the podium to say a few words about our first award winner, Sarah DeBenedictis. Tom?
Well, thank you, and good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Cochran. It's my pleasure to be the principal at Dublin Scioto High School. And tonight I have the distinct honor of honoring one of our own. Sarah DeBenedictis is being honored as a Golden Shamrock winner. She is the leader of our Kindness Cafe, and our Kindness Cafe serves the needs of our SLC students and teaches them employability skills and also social skills to be successful in the real world during high school and after. And if you'll bear with me here, I wanted to read a couple snippets of what was written about her because I think it says exactly who Sarah is. Sarah helped to start the Kindness Cafe in 2019. It started as a simple coffee cart in the math class. Students would prepare coffee and serve it one day a week. After winning a grant, Sarah then helped to build the Kindness Cafe from the start. She then had to start the impossible task of opening the Kindness Cafe during COVID. She now manages a fully operational cafe that supports students throughout the day as they learn crucial employability skills. She has given training and opportunities to many students at Dublin Scioto High School. Her hard work and dedication to this operation is amazing. She has given opportunities to students that we have only dreamed of in the past. Sarah works tirelessly to continue to provide for our students with a positive, organized, and supportive work-study environment. She consistently goes above and beyond her responsibilities, showing unwavering kindness and compassion to our students while maintaining high expectations for their personal and professional growth. Sarah's excellent communication skills and collaborative spirit make her an invaluable team member, fostering a sense of community. Her dedication, selflessness, and relentless work ethic inspire everyone around her, making her not only a role model, but also a true cornerstone to our school's success. I get to see every single day what Sarah does for our students. I go in the coffee shop on about 3 or 4 cups a morning to get through the day. But she is truly awesome. She comes to school every day because she wants to help our students, and she is there teaching all the time. I hear conversations daily about just a gentle reminder of this is what we do when a customer comes in. This is how we react to negative situations. And she's always teaching, and they're always learning, and she does it with a gentle hand, and they love being in there. The kids come in when they're not even supposed to work there, probably more often than you want, but they do come in just to be with Sarah, and that's how awesome she is. So it is on, I'm very proud, I should say, to honor her with this award. And on behalf of everyone at Dublin Scioto, on behalf of everyone in our Dublin City school system, thank you, Sarah, for all that you do. And let's give her a round of applause for being our winner. I think we're going to come up and get a picture, too, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I am so honored to receive this special award. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to everyone involved in making this happen. Everyone's encouragement and support has been instrumental in the success of our students. I can't tell you how much they support me. It's awesome. So having the privilege of working with these students has left a positive, life-changing impact on me. And it is my daily prayer that I would meet each student exactly where they need to be met. Thank you again for this wonderful award.
One more.
Congratulations. And now at this time, I'd like to ask in order to give our award to our second award winner, Erica Stone.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, for everybody being here tonight, as we celebrate an extraordinary individual, Erica Stone, a well-deserving recipient of the Golden Shamrock Award. Erica is our English Learner Coordinator and has been for 8 years. She has been the backbone of our EL department, providing support and advocacy for our multilingual students, parents, and our EL staff. Erica's leadership is defined by her empathy, kindness, and intuition. She understands the importance of building trust and fostering genuine connections. She values everyone, making them feel seen and heard, and her dedication to our students and staff is exceptional. Erica received many nominations, and I just would like to take an opportunity to read just a couple. Erica consistently goes above and beyond, demonstrating professionalism, teamwork, and a passion for success that truly deserves recognition. I deeply appreciate the way Erica makes each person feel valued, as well as the lasting impact she has on our community. Erica has not only supported me as an educator, but an individual. She's been there in tough times, providing encouraging words. And finally, this one made me smile the most. I don't think this woman sleeps without thinking about the people she serves and the way she can better support them in their needs. So thank you, Erica, for your outstanding service and commitment, and congratulations on receiving the Golden Shamrock Award.
Well, that last part is true. I don't sleep very well, but it's all in the interest of kids always. And I had an amazing team standing behind me these past 8 years to do some pretty incredible things, of which I look forward to carrying on to Indian Run Elementary next year. So we're going to rock it, Marty. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to presentations. We have Toll's Career and Technical Center update. Mr. Melody.
Good evening, President Rigby and members of the board. My Toll's report is attached to board docs, so I will highlight a few items. First up is next Wednesday, April 23rd, is the annual Tolles School Board Dinner. We invite all our associate districts to have a dinner prepared by our culinary program. There's an open house starting at 6, and the dinner starts at 7. So if you can make it, it'd be a great time to come see and learn about Tolles and some of their programs and have a wonderful dinner prepared by the culinary students. Next, we continue to work on the Tolles facility expansion. This is a 50,000 square foot expansion, and we look forward to groundbreaking in June, and we plan to open that in January of 2027. And just a reminder that this is being completed with the original 1.8 mills that were budgeted and approved for by taxpayers in 1972. So we are happy to be able to do this expansion with new money. Next, we have enrollment update for next year. 895 students have been accepted into our level 1 or senior only programs. To be able to support these programs, we are adding a second criminal justice instructor, a fifth pre-nursing instructor, and a third cosmetology teacher. And additionally, we are redeploying multiple instructors from satellite programs that we have shut down because of low enrollment. So we're bringing those back to main campus and support additional programming there as well. And then the last item I wanted to note is that we do have space in all of our senior-only programs remaining. Students participating in these programs are eligible to earn the 12-point industry recognition credentials that satisfy the competency requirements for the Ohio graduation requirements. So there is space in all those programs, and we look forward to filling those before the start of the school year next year. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or maybe I'll see you next Wednesday at the school board dinner.
I just had one question. At the Business Advisory Council meeting, you had mentioned a new program for next year. I think it was an HVAC or technicians. Is that
electrical?
Electrical? Okay.
Yes, that is for next year. And then we are also building out like an HVAC plumbing part of the program as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And also, I wanted to call out what's not on the update, but last week, the accreditation board was visiting Tolles for the adult education program last week. So they were going through the adult education program, and we are hopeful that come August, September, we will have full accreditation from a state and federal standpoint, and that'll allow us to have expanded opportunities for adult education as well as federal funding for adult education. So, and then we will be expanding some of the adult education programs once that accreditation is complete. All right, if there's no questions, like I said, hope to see you next Wednesday. So, thank you.
There is no one signed up for public participation this evening, so we will move on to our Board of Education committee reports.
I have a couple. So on March 14th, the PTO Leadership Council met. They kicked off the meeting by sharing positive stories, which I really enjoyed, and I'm glad to see that that's back. The PTO leaders shared different stories about how they honor students with academic awards and how they got the idea from that, or for that, from sharing ideas with each other amongst the high schools. They shared about Carr Middle School's 25th anniversary celebration. And one of the elementary schools shared about a social media presentation that they did in collaboration with PERC. And that led to a really robust conversation around social media, which was also a great segue for Dr. Marshausen to speak about the Press Pause series, which is a 2-month campaign that begins in the summer and will be featuring different topics and community experts on each one of the topics that they cover. The first one in the series will be Finding Balance in the Digital World. And Dr. Marshausen also discussed upcoming cell phone legislation and answered questions around that, reassured parents about safety concerns that they shared, and also some of the concerns that the students had as well. He also mentioned that the students had requested consistency with teachers' rules and, regarding cell phones and cell phone use. And the parents also expressed desire for consistency as well as with students, but also with coaches and communication with students and with parents. Dr. Marshausen also shared how the district is maintaining a focus, currently staying in alignment with Journey 2030, the district's values and culture, and as well as the district's overall goals and the building goals. And the group was informed about the upcoming webinar on April 21st regarding redistricting, as well as an upcoming film that I'm not sure if Cassie will share any about that, but keep an eye out for that, also on redistricting. And then on March 17th, the Senior Citizen Council met, and Scioto's Irish Fiddle Frenzy opened the meeting with just really beautiful Irish-themed music, which was perfect for St. Patrick's Day. If you ever get a chance to check them out in the community, please do so. The seniors also got to hear a presentation on all-day kindergarten, which I won't go into very much since we have the pleasure of learning about that tonight. But they did have lots of questions that I would just like to share. They had questions around examples of purposeful play, and example was given using art and magnetiles so that students can improve or just grow their problem solving and communication skills. They also wanted to know the process for evaluating students and how does the district figure out where to place them. They had questions around class sizes, what type of screening is done, what is the goal for literacy for kindergarten students, and what the cutoff date is age-wise for enrollment, and is the district able to integrate students with special needs into the classrooms, and also how are parapros placed in the classroom. So they had lots and lots of questions about all-day kindergarten. Lastly, Nick Magistrelli, the athletic director at Scioto High School, gave an overview of the athletics programs in Dublin and the athletic facilities, which I thought was a good way to showcase the updates and new projects that have been completed or will be completed soon. And it was a great way for our seniors to see where taxpayer dollars are going, and also the impact of those dollars on our students. The policy committee met on April 9th, and you will see a batch of those policies on the April 28th agenda, so I will spare going over those now. That's it.
I also have a couple committee reports. The first one is from the Teacher Advisory Council that met on April 2nd, and some of this we're going to hear later by Dr. Marshausen on NSK 12 and also the high school redistricting. But they were also, the teachers were given an update on summer facilities projects, which is key for some of these teachers because it tells them when they're allowed to go into their classroom, because most teachers are still working over the summer in their classrooms. So they want to know when they can go in and out. Other than that, there were questions about schedule changes at the middle school level, timing on that, as well as all the new course offerings in 6th and 7th grade, and this shift away from a traditional middle school that most school districts are going to allow for more choice and voice from the students, and that a lot of districts are moving to this new concept where middle school is not just rote, where they have to take certain classes, but they do get that choice and voice. Elementary school, there were questions about all-day kindergarten and what that will look like and right-sizing those classes, especially trying to figure out special education needs as we don't have all that information as of yet, but we will soon. So Other than that, I'm going to let Dr. Marshausen talk about NSK 12 and the redistricting webinar. And then also, I had a DEF meeting for their grants in the spring. And we had 13 presentations. Several were done by students, which was amazing for kiddos to get up there in front of adults and be very confident and sure of what they're presenting and how impactful these programs that they are fighting for to get funding for are. All 13 projects were funded, at least somewhat, with, I believe, 5 of them being fully funded, including providing food scales for every single school nurse in the district so that our students with diabetes can weigh their food to get a better count of their carbohydrates. Support for the district's Just Right program and getting a new program up and running, a team up and running at Scioto. Summer reading celebrations, a book vending machine that will be at Chapman Elementary that allows students who win a token to go and get a book from the vending machine, which I thought was a really ingenious idea rather than giving candy or something else, but giving kids a book. And the goal is that every student will earn at least one book a year. So all in all, it was a great night, and to see some of the innovation by these teachers and what they want to do in the classroom is amazing. Oh, forgot to mention, total funded was $20,831. So.
Okay, I just have a couple of updates. One is from the Business Advisory Council meeting, which was way back on March 11th. We had it at Air Force One, which many of you know is a heating and cooling HVAC company. And it was a great meeting because, as Mr. Melody mentioned earlier, he was talking about a new program for tolls, and Dwayne Dickey, who's the vice president for, I think, strategic operations there, he was talking about the need for technicians. And their main goal is service, and they don't have anyone to fill those needs. So with Mr. Melody being able to be there and saying, hey, you know what, next year we're going to have student programs and adult programs, it's just another example of how those partnerships are so important, not only to our students, but to the community in general, to be able to meet those needs and collaborate with the organizations we partner with for the Advisory Council. We talked also about many of the things that Mrs. De Silva and Mrs. Messick already mentioned. We talked about the political climate within the schools. We talked about our growth, the Scioto edition and the preschool edition. We talked about scheduling and timing for students to be able to get to Emerald campuses and what that's going to look like. We talked about the state budget and what it means to Dublin City Schools. We talked about our commitment as a district to our responsible staffing plan. And we talked about how Dublin is committing to being more efficient, whether that is in our NSK 12 initiatives or elsewhere. We did talk a little bit about high school redistricting, but the biggest thing I think to come out of this meeting was the parent response to the no cell phones. Every parent around that table was very much in favor of no cell phones in schools and wanted to know how they could help the district. You know, we talked about consistency among the entire district, so it isn't a pocket of, you know, some schools are doing it, some schools are not. So we did talk about that. But there was just overwhelming support, and that was nice to see. And they were also looking for direction from the district. And I think Dr. Marshausen's going to speak to that. He did at the meeting, but they are definitely looking for some direction and help in order to, you know, get the cell phones out of schools. The second meeting was the Athletic Council meeting, and that was just last week. And just a couple of highlights. One is weather. As we all know, it's April in Ohio, and the weather can be really It can fluctuate quite a bit. So we have these Kestrel 5400 weather systems. We have them in 2 of our schools, soon to be, they will be in 8 of our schools, so that would include our middle schools and all 3 high schools. And those are paid for by our partnership with Ohio Health with our athletic trainers and the sports medicine department. But the nice thing about those is they give very local data. So the example was given that, you could have a sporting event take place at Eversole and then maybe not have one at Davis. These will be very localized to the site. And so, a lot of times there's confusion and upset. People get upset when something is happening in one area of the district and not in another area, but the weather can be that different. And so these will give localized modifications. Cancellation decisions will be independent and they'll be site-specific. We talked about communication from the athletic trainers to the ADs to the coaches and on down to the parents. We talked about track replacements and high school scoreboards, which we've gone over before. And then there was a reminder to use the coach evaluator as part of the coach's toolkit because that's very helpful. And so there was just a reminder to use that with fidelity so we get the best from our coaches. And then there was little mention of the OCC alignment, which happens every 4 years. And it needs to be done 2 years ahead of OCC scheduling. So, and the last thing that I thought was really worthwhile, we mentioned our 20 square feet of space. And in the sports environment, it's often very emotional. So this is a great time for the playbook to come to life. And the quote was, "The best place to change the world is the place you stand. Own your 20 square feet." So that's it. Sorry. Moving on to student representative update. AJ.
There's obviously a lot going on right now with students, seniors specifically, as we're all getting ready to commit to schools and get out respectfully. All of our schools are hosting prom on April 26th. Every student is very excited about prom. The dodgeball tournament is happening Friday, May 9th from 4:15 to about 8:15 at Dublin Kaufman. And this year we do have a backup schedule to go to the gym if need be. And students are enjoying their adjusted schedules. This week and last week, due to the state testing, sophomores not as happy. Kaufman Theater recently closed their production of Into the Woods this past weekend. At Jerome, Student Council they're beginning their campaigning for their president and vice president positions. Jerome Theater is putting on their production of Shakespeare in Love the weekend of May 1st through the 4th. And CAP, which is their freshman mentor program, is holding a freshman t-shirt tie-dye where all the freshmen do a tie-dye with their school year on it. This is to build connection and provide a point of reflection upon their successes freshman year and a point of reflection through the rest of their high school careers. In Scioto, the Hope Squad hosted their annual Hope Week, which brings awareness to preventing adolescent suicide. Scioto hosted their annual prom pop-up shop, which allows students to find clothing for prom without having to pay exorbitant prices for it. Scioto Theater is putting on the production of Shrek the Musical the first weekend of May. And currently, Scioto's Purple Star Club is hosting the annual Purple Star Week, which helps celebrate veterans in Dublin and the broader community. And construction has just begun outside of Scioto to prep for the upcoming expansion. At Emerald Campus, April 9th, the first and second year IB students celebrated their accomplishments with the Celebration of Learning. Second year students were allowed to show off their extended essay topics and CAS projects. IB art students also had the chance to show off their work in an exhibit that spanned across the entire school year. And right now last week they did Future U Week. Students engaged in Future U Week, which is a dedicated time for self-discovery and career exploration. They explored their passions, considered global needs, identified strengths, and investigated paths to financial fulfillment. This week featured a career-focused discussion in class, as well as valuable sessions on the Common App, free professional headshots, LinkedIn profiles, resume building, and crafting a compelling elevator pitch, all designed to help equip them for future success.
Thank you, EJ. Moving on to reports and action items from the superintendent's office. Dr. Marshausen.
Thank you, Mrs. Rigby. First of all, as we've talked about in some of our engagement meetings, we have finalized our timetable for the high school redistricting project. On Monday, we will host a webinar in which the public has been encouraged to submit questions that, if applicable, either I will answer or Mr. Cropper will answer from Cropper GIS. On August 26th, Cropper GIS will go over the process in a public session that will be used, including the criteria that will be part of the redistricting process. On September 29th, we will do our first reveal of the maps to the community. We will do that at 2 locations on September 29th, at Jerome High School and at Kaufman High School, which will allow those 2 communities the opportunity to see the drafts of the map. Also, during that evening, we will post the maps online for any community members who are interested in seeing the maps and are unable to attend those meetings. We will have over a month where feedback and review can be submitted by the community about the maps. Cropper GIS took all of the feedback and input during the elementary and middle school process and did make some changes as a result of the feedback that was presented by the community. And then at the board meeting on November 10th, the final maps will be presented to the Board of Education. The timing for the maps being presented may seem early to some in the community, but we are giving rising sophomores through seniors the opportunity to either stay at the high school that they've already started attending, or if their household is moved, to change to their new attendance zone. We're going to give families about a month to make that decision, where they'll have to make that decision in writing, and then we need time to start the scheduling process for the 26-27 school year. So by giving families time and students time to say, I'm either going to stay where I've started or I'm going to go with the new attendance area, it then allows us to get counselors in place so that we can build the staff and schedules at those schools. A lot of time and effort, thanks to Dr. Schwanke and her team, to Mrs. Dietrich and her team for putting this together. We learned some things during the elementary and middle school process. As one of our core values, always growing, we're working to make that even better for this process. Lots of conversations in the education community about the state budget and where we are in terms of the budget. A couple things to keep in mind. Before we get to a final budget, which will likely be approved in its final form the last week of June, because it never seems to happen before the deadline gets here, there are really 3 budget proposals that we get to put input but also get to watch. At the State of the State address, Governor DeWine revealed his executive proposal for the biennial budget. And the governor gets to introduce priorities that he feels are important in the next budget. Just last week, the Ohio House got to go through and put together their proposed budget. And the House approves a version of the budget led by Speaker Huffman that the House votes to approve. The Ohio General Assembly is now on a 2-week spring break. There are no legislative activity this week and next week. When they return the week of the 28th, the Senate then begins its process of budget hearings and going through the budget process. By the time the Senate gets through that, you're looking at 3 budgets, and that's where we have conference committees, and that's kind of when the work really starts, is when you're looking at the 3 different budgets and looking to see where during this process the conversation goes and where people are planting their flag and where you're able to see movement. In the House budget, there is a controversial topic that would deeply impact the Dublin City Schools, and that started at a 25% cap. In the final version was a 30% cap, in the amount of carryover you can have on the previous year's operating budget. In a district like Dublin, where we are 85% funded by our local taxpayers, we tend to run up our cash balance after a levy is passed, then we run down our cash balance until we have to come back to our voters for another levy request. It's not this way in all the districts. In the state of Ohio right now, of 609 districts, 486 would exceed this cap. We are 409th in the percent of our carryover that we save from year to year. There's lots of opportunities for input that still take place in this process. Just last week, we had the opportunity, when talking about cell phones, to be with Senate Education Chairman Brenner and Senator Timken, where we start those conversations about the importance of cash carryover and educating our lawmakers about the process in large suburban districts. I know our neighbors in Olentangy have started a process to share their concerns with their legislators. As it says on the slide, RR matters, how we respond. We will be talking this week with our key communicators on Wednesday that Mrs. Dietrich will lead. Next week, we have our Senior Citizens Council again, our Business Advisory Council, and our PTO leadership meetings. We'll be engaging with our constituents and leaders in these areas to talk about what should our strategy be in Dublin to protect what our voters approved in November of 2023. My biggest concern is that we are open and transparent about how we do things in Dublin when it comes to finances. Our campaign in 2023 was about trying to stay off the ballot again until 2028. And we were open and transparent about that being the goal. It's why we put in the responsible staffing plan, why we've made the reductions that we've made to stretch that money as long as possible. If the cap were put in place at 30%, it would put us in a 2-year levy cycle every 2 years. We would be coming back to the voters for biennial budgets every 2 years. It would also have a detrimental impact on our bond rating, which would raise everybody's taxes or allow us to borrow less, because we are one of a handful of districts that has a AAA bond rating that allows us to get the best interest rates when it comes to issuing bonds. And Brian, do you want to talk a little bit about what our percent carryover needs to be for S&P to do that for us?
Yeah, so as part of that process, and I think we've talked about it here at board meetings before, that process is quite grueling as we answer a bunch of questions and they look at all our data, which not only the bonded levy that we have on that's out for real estate taxes that helps pay off our debt for bond, but they also look at our general fund or operating, which is what Dr. Marshausen is referring to. They want to look at your strength that you have there, and they really, what we tell them is, which is a kind of a GFOA, which is a Government Finance Officer Association, is at a minimum 1 to 2 months at your end of your levy cycle. And so I think when the legislators were looking at this, or at least per se, they said they heard from us that that's where we should be. Is I think what they really heard was at a minimum, that's where we should be, is at 30%, or in this case when they started at 25%. So that process is, yes, they would definitely look at and say your reserves are not good, potentially downgrading the debt at some point in the outlook. Now, we've already issued all the debt and the authority that we have, so they couldn't do that with the existing debt, but anything, we would have a negative outlook before we would even, if we have to have any more bonded issues, and they come back and look, and if that is still in place at that time, would negatively impact it. And of course, borrowing costs would go up at that point, so which would allow you to borrow less potentially from that standpoint and for the needs that you may have. So as far as the impact on the operating fund, one thing I do want to share too is Dr. Marshausen talks about there's been years, and you probably recall this, where they had temporary budgets where they didn't even get done by the end of June, and that we're going into July, maybe even August before they do the final budget. So it is a long process. It is not a sprint here at the end now, but it is alarming what we've have out there that's out there. So 30% right now, if you look at the simulations, that they ran simulations for FY24, we're actually in FY20, fiscal year 25. So fiscal year 25, if you're looking at it, way we plan with our 5-year budget, 5-year forecast that we're looking, we've actually started the update process that we'll do in May. We haven't finished it completely yet, but tweak we would probably finish somewhere where they would have to, as part of issuing next year's taxes, which would be what they call tax year 25, but collection year, they collected in 26 for a calendar year basis. For the whole calendar year collection, we would be reduced by $23 million. And so I don't know if you want to call it a clawback or whatever you want to call it. It would be a refund to taxpayers out there, which, yeah, is everyone. Hey, I don't like paying taxes. No one likes paying taxes. But it is the fact of what we are. And we are 85%, or more locally funded. So that's just something that we have to do from a property tax standpoint. And so it does shorten our levy cycles. Our next one would have to be shorter. I would, I was even looking today, do we even have to look about November of 26 already, potentially, if they do something like this? So, or do you go 1 year early, November of 27? So it's a lot of variables there, but with that in play, I think it's detrimental to districts like us, or a penalty for districts like us who are growing and trying to manage it with not playing, I guess you call it transparency. We're not trying to play games. We're not playing the income tax or the emergency levy game where they're trying to take at the 20, what's called the 20 mil floor, which is the minimum that has to be assessed in property taxes. And so those districts that did it, which a number in the 400s too across the state, they got the full effect when it came to reappraisal. So when taxes values went up 30%, their taxes went up 30%. Ours, House Bill 920 kicks in because we're way over that 20 mil floor, and we have continuous levies that don't, because if it's an emergency levy or income tax that's collected by a district, it doesn't count towards that calculation of the 20 mil floor. So, yeah, it is very concerning, but, we don't want to have a heart attack yet. We're just having little palpitations right now. So with that, but as we go forward, what I will say to the board here, we plan on having our 5-year forecast update, the first meeting in May. We're not going to reflect this in there at this time because it's not in statute yet. It's not in the budget bill. We're doing with what we know is in the budget or not in the budget or current law and what we currently think is going right now and expectations. One thing that I thought about today is if this goes into effect, a lot of people are going to have to make revisions of their 5-year forecast real quick. Actually, with the House proposal, they want to go down to 3 years, and I think that's bad in itself. 5 years, I think, is a great planning tool. We look at it longer than 5 years. You get less accurate as you go out in a forecast, but we look at it longer from the standpoint is because when do we have to go back to taxpayers for more property tax levy is how much is it going to be, when's the timing, and so forth with that. So I think even shorting that cycle is not good policy. I think at a minimum 5 years is still something they should do, but you would see a lot of revisions because 486 people I would think would have to do a big revision at some point. So,
Brian, what does this do from a collective bargaining standpoint? And I'm talking about timing, just our ability to, how often would we end up would we be in a even more continual cycle?
You're shortening every cycle. You're shortening every cycle because in order to do, we have our current contracts now, but once those are up, we have to have the money for me to be able to say, and you as a board to approve to certify we have the money. Otherwise, I'll lose my job if we don't have the money. So you may be looking at a year-to-year basis, and that's and with that, that's without having that stability sometimes, with whether it's 3 years or 4 years or whatever it may be. It's just one more thing that's shrinking your cycle every time, and you're constantly in those cycles when maybe we could be more productive from an instructional basis and spending time while we're spending time with either bargaining or we're planning for levies or whatever we're doing, where we can be spending more time on instructional and better stuff for outcomes for our students.
And it really has the potential to put our upper level leadership in a position where, and obviously the levy's one thing, and we've been through the discussions on what can and can't be done by the district, but the focus becomes very heavy year to year on collective bargaining and whatever is going to be coming next with levy issues.
Yeah, you're sitting there with, you know.
You're literally preparing
Yep.
nonstop, I imagine, if you're in that sort of cycle.
So you're constantly changing your forecasts and planning different scenarios with that, in a sense, depending on the outcomes of certain things from that. And then you have to look at reductions. If there's a failure in there somewhere, or you may have to look at reductions anyways, because if they continually have this clawback provision in there, you have to stay at some point. So, responsible staffing plans, maintaining our staff at the current levels, even though we're growing in enrollment. But what if enrollment even kicks off even greater at some point and gains? We may not be able to add to meet the needs, whether it's special ed, whether it's just a regular classroom. So, scary thing. It's just something. It's hard to plan for, something they don't teach you necessarily to deal with. And I'll be honest, this is just me personally. I think it'll chase good people out of the business from an administration standpoint.
And I think part of our role as leaders is educating the General Assembly on the complexities across the state of Ohio. There are districts that are anomalies, the large suburban districts in Columbus, who are receiving the minimum funding from the state at 10% of the base formula. We are anomalies. There are districts that are sitting on large cash balances, that are at the 20 mil floor, that are receiving 80% state funding. To talk about the complexities and ask respectfully when with legislators for opportunities for there to be carve-outs, for there to be options. And those are conversations that are best had when you have relationships, when you can have conversations, and when you can explain our budget process and our cycle and what we do. And it's one of the things that Mr. Kernan and I will be doing with the Alliance, that we'll be doing with some of our other partners, and any chance we have the opportunity to be in front of legislators to have those meaningful conversations.
One more caveat with that, too, is while this is a political process, it gets even more politicized because this of taxes, of the reduction or the refund, and this looking is now at the local level from the local budget commission, which is the county auditor, county treasurer, and they're taking out of the prosecutor, and they're making one of the county commissioners would be part of the budget commission's part. So they would be reviewing your forecasts and deciding. So now, do they have pressures from whether it's inside their caucus level, Republican or Democrat, whatever it may be, to have pressures on, well, you need to reduce that because we need to have that tax refund, and stuff like this, where we may demonstrate a need from that. So we're a process now, whereas when you set the tax rates, while it's looked at the county levels, final approval comes from the state level, State Department of Taxation. So it's just one more element in there that it's tough to navigate.
Yeah, I thank you for having this slide here and sharing information, especially with the public. I think it's very important. I appreciate that you have a plan to engage with the community and some of the engagement groups that we have here in the district. I think that is really important, as everyone across the board, it seems, is curious about school funding and what this budget, will do. I think lots of people have lots of questions, so I think it's really important to point out how this will specifically impact Dublin and Dublin's ability to be fiscally responsible and save money where we can. I think this kind of hinders our ability to just be mindful and try to save money, because if it gets taken away, that incentivize the district to do that. And also just our taxpayers' ability to say they voted for this already. It's money that they have already approved for us to have. So having their voice and, that accountability staying here locally, I think is important, and it's important for them to know that this would impact that.
And if there is a need for a call to action, for us to engage our community, to contact legislators, we will do that. That's only something you do when the timing's right, when you need that level of push and support. So we'll see when we get there, but as I said, I don't think the time is now. I think we're still early in this process, and we want to see where this goes. Okay, we also mentioned, as part of our responsible staffing plan and our goal to become sustainable and efficient in what we do, we entered into an audit process for 3 programs this year: special education, gifted services, and English language learners. And I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Andrus to share some of the outcomes from those reports from New Solutions K-12.
Thanks, Dr. Marshausen. So just as a summary for